Hey, my name is Mike. I'm an alcoholic. I'm coming to you from ICYPAA right now down in Austin, Texas. I'm from Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and currently serving as the CPC and PI chair for Area 61, Rhode Island, as well as a member of ICYPAA Advisory. Grateful to be here with you today and grateful to be sober. So I'll tell you a little bit about my journey through Young People's and Alcoholics Anonymous and how it not only gave me a foundation in Alcoholics Anonymous to build upon and to be, but changed and saved my life, right? So I got sober back in 2017, and I remember sitting in a facility and hearing meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous come in, and then seeing some of the same groups come back and come back and come back week after week, and a couple of the members a couple of times a week, right? And they were about my age, and it was very different from what I had been used to seeing while I was in there. And in talking to some of these members that were coming in, I came to quickly realize that, hey, they were young, but they were happy, and they were smiling, and they looked like they were living a good life, and they sounded and talked like they were living in a way that I wanted to pursue and I wanted to live, right? So I started to get to know these guys, and I while I was still in that treatment facility, I started to be sponsored by a person who was part of a bid for ICYPAA, the New England Conference of Young People and Alcoholics Anonymous. And right from day one, my introduction to AA was from a commitment from a Young People's Service Committee, right? So coming into AA, right, like I jumped in and dove in like my life depended on it because, frankly, there's no other way to say it. It did depend on it, right? I knew for me that I had ran out of options out there. I knew for me that I had ran out of choices, ran out of rope, ran out of road, right? And I had to completely abandon myself to Alcoholics Anonymous and start to seek a power greater than myself, right? So living out in Boston at the time, and I quickly go through the steps and start to get grounded and active member in my home group and active member in Alcoholics Anonymous. And some point in time, within my first year of sobriety, I heard some people that I had seen at some meetings talking about this thing called ICYPAA coming to Boston, right? And it just kept catching my ear. And I would go home at night and it would just be like, I don't know what this thing is, but these people have something, and these people have something that I want and I want to be a part of. And it's happened a few times in my sobriety, but joining that committee was one of the times that I distinctly recall as being pivotal and life-changing in my sobriety, right? And every single piece of me felt drawn to join that committee. So I joined ICYPAA host in Boston, and I become the alternate AV chair and have a beautiful and wonderful experience hosting that and building the relationships there with that conference and with those people and with the spirit of the fellowship alive and well in Young People's and Alcoholics Anonymous, right? And I start to get lit on fire for not only Young People's AA, but Alcoholics Anonymous in general, right? Life starts to get beautiful and life starts to get good, right? And like, more importantly, I start to live in a way that is aligned with what I believe to be where my higher power wanted me to be, right? So I start just being of service in whatever capacity I'm able to be in. And I think in like a 2-year span, I jumped around in Young People's service, right? And hosted within about 2 years of each other, ICYPAA, the International Conference of Young People's in AA, NECYPAA, New England Conference, and MISCYPAA, the Massachusetts State Conference of Young People in AA, and got busy, started to build relationships and friendships, all while going and living through Alcoholics Anonymous, building a fellowship and a network and a community around me, and having hosted those conferences and having, been through the 12 steps in our big book and having really started to live in a completely different way and outlook than I had ever thought was possible for somebody like me in my life. I realized that Young People's changed my outlook. I came into AA at 27 years old, and I came in hopeless, and I came in broken. Having that community around me where I was able to learn, and I was able to grow, and I was able to just be, while being helpful and useful at the same time, was such a gift. Right now, coming out of hosting those conferences, I'm still gratefully serving a 5-year fantastic service commitment on an advisory council for ICYPAA. And, I was lovingly guided by a couple of past delegates and a past Northeast Regional trustee to jump into general service, right? And that bridge and that transition and that outreach of the hand from general service to young people's in AA was absolutely and is absolutely pivotal and beautiful to me, right? What these wonderful folks did is that they didn't come to our events and say, hey, why aren't you here? And they didn't come to our events and conferences and say, hey, you're doing it wrong. They came and they sat in the back of the room and they said, hey, that was really cool what you guys did. Maybe consider doing this next time. Or, hey, maybe come with us and let's try this, right? Or, hey, maybe just come into an area assembly and let's see if we can put you to work, And I've gratefully been involved in area service since 2020 and absolutely loving it. And I found my home and my people here in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Prior to coming to AA, I was hopeless. I was beat up. I was about 2 inches from death with no morals, values, or self-identity to speak of. Having been grounded and taught how to live in Alcoholics Anonymous through Young People's in Alcoholics Anonymous, life is beautiful, right? That doesn't mean it's always perfect. That doesn't mean it's always sunshines and rainbows. But that means I know how to show up for it today. It means I can live completely differently than I used to. It means I can be present for the moments that matter. And AA has not only saved my life, it has changed my entire outlook upon what life could be. Living one day at a time and living through these 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and being of service in young people's and in general service has been and is, and God willing will continue to be one of the most beautiful and important experiences of my life. So I thank you for allowing me to share today a little bit of my experience, and I hope that this experience is something that I can continue to share with others, because it is beautiful and it is amazing, and I thank you for it.